Isn't it wonderful, folks, that we'll be able to come back to celebrate Mass together, and also to begin with, to enter the church building for private prayer. And with just a few modifications, a few additions of signs and some sensible precautions, we'll be able to pray privately and safely, and then be able to celebrate Mass towards the end of July, beginning of August. So we're shooting this short video just to give you an idea of what you'll be asked to do when you arrive for private prayer. First of all, on a Sunday, and then Mass shortly afterwards. So we're going to ask people to come through the car park area, and the first sign that you'll see is this sign here, asking you to queue along this side of the church for entry into the church. Now, in fact, we don't anticipate a huge queue because the church will take about 25 folk. But you know what it's like. People arrive, they all arrive at once. We're going to ask you to arrive, if you can, 15 minutes early so that people can be seated nice and safely. So this sign here will tell you how to queue. And then we'll wander, and just in case you get yourself lost down into this basement, you never know what's down there. So keep going. And again, in case you get lost, we've got a sign there. Those of you familiar with the church will notice that there is now something missing, and that's scaffolding. As we're filming this is actually quite a dull day. But with the sun shining when you come back, you'll see the new windows in all their glory. So we'll ask you to come up here. Again, if you have to queue, we'll ask you to keep your distance. At the moment it's 2 meters. It might shorten, but we'll just ask you to be sensible about keeping your distance there. The important thing is to wait here until one of the welcomers welcomes you and takes you to your seat. We're going to ask people to bring their own face covering if they can. The usher, or the welcomer I should say, will welcome you here, and then we're going to ask you to take note of these notices. Nice and straightforward, nice and plain, just to avoid contact, to keep our distance. We can, but it doesn't mean to say we can greet each other or acknowledge each other. We can smile, and we can, give each other an air hug. That's very American, but you know what, we know what we mean. And then please wear a mask or a face covering of some sort. Now the welcomer will ask you to use the hand sanitizer here. This is just a wee example. It will be a wee bit bigger than this on the day. And then we enter through this door, and notice this is entry only. So we come into our new church porch, nice and bright with our new windows. If you wish to make an offering, please leave your offering there. The plate won't be passed round. And to avoid using the toilet, but if you have to go, you have to go. But remember, please wash your hands. There will be hand sanitizer and so on there. There will also be paper towels there. We will probably ask you not to use the hand dryer, as the advice is that spreads things a wee bit more. So we're probably going to ask you to use the hand towels, soap and water and hand sanitizer there if you need to use the toilet. Once the welcomer says hello, gets your hand sanitizer on, asks you to put your face covering on, a mask or a scarf or something, they will then show you to your seat. Now, as you come into the church, you'll notice that there are certain places we're going to ask you not to be seated. This is going to be one of them, because this is going to contain bits and pieces and equipment to do the online masses. You'll see that there are, every so often, these signs here. Please sit here. And so the welcomer will show you into one of these seats. If you are, as it were, an individual or an adult. In other words, this main section here is going to be for individuals or adults who don't mind sitting apart for a wee while. You'll find some of the benches just with these kind of notices not to sit on them so that we can keep our distance. Welcomers will have a list. They'll have your name on that list, and they'll roughly know where you're going to go. There will be a couple of extra chairs here. That's so that we can get the most people in and yet give enough room for communion and so on. You'll see the sign there for most of you to exit through the side door, which, as most of you will know, is that one there. If you have walking difficulties or have some difficulty with stairs, well, we'll ask you to stay in your seats until everyone else is out, and then we'll let you out the other door. But for most folk who are able, we'll ask you to go out through the side door. Now here again, in this section, we have our households section, where members of the same household can sit who are more than two. So we've got one household here, which can seat 4 or 5. And then, as you'll see, we've missed out 2 benches, again, with plain notices where not to sit here. And again, another bench for a household here. And then again, we've measured it all out as to 2 metres. And again, and back here, these benches are for a larger household. Maybe a couple of parents with a few children and that kind of thing. Now, once you're seated, Mass will begin. And Mass will be very simplified. There'll be no singing. Many will be glad to hear that. And it will be a shortened version of Mass. Now, once Mass is over, or near the end of Mass, I will take communion, then I'll say the post-communion prayer, give the blessing, and then I'll distribute communion. And please take communion in your hand. Before I give communion, I'll put on a mask myself, and then I'll start off with communion here. First of all, to the household in the middle bench here. They will exit through the side door, and they will be asked to use the hand sanitizer once again on the way out, just as a double precaution for themselves. And then I'll invite the back benches to come out, and then the front bench to come out. And then once this side has been given communion and they've exited, I will come down to the front. And then you'll be invited, and probably the welcomers will guide you. And I'll come right down and give communion, and I'll ask people to stand a decent, not right up against me as it were, but to keep a certain distance. Give them communion nice and easily, take communion, and then leave through the door. And one by one, people will come up. Please don't queue. The welcomers and ushers will help you with that. They'll call you one at a time so that people are not crowding in on each other and so that there's a nice safe distance. So, I hope that's been of help to you. Please remember to register for Mass. That is the essential thing. Please do not come to church unless you have pre-registered. And if you know someone who's having difficulty with that, or doesn't have access to the internet, or is not very good at these things, maybe you could help them out. But it is important that people are registered. If there are any problems, you can contact me. But if you're registered, we've got your name, we can divide up the spaces and allocate slots in a fair way, accounting for individuals and families, and trying to keep people who have volunteered as cleaners and welcomers together with their families as much as we can. We can't satisfy every single request, but we will do our best. Thank you very much for watching this short video, and I am really, really delighted that in a short time I will be welcoming you back to our church. God bless.